So welcome to a little bit of a different video. I've been kind of wanting to do something like this for a while now, but as we move into the big 2026, I wanted to do a noob's guide to Hulkling and Wiccan. That's right. These fellas down here, the only figures that we have of them, got me into reading comic books. I now have multiple tattoos of them, and I just absolutely love the characters, and the characters are moving a little bit more into the mainstream, and they're trying to expose us a little bit more to Hulkling and Wiccan. So I wanted to do a bit of a noob's guide. This is the guide that I kind of put together myself a year ago, and I've been slowly working my way through while trying my best not to get distracted. So if you want a very, very bare bones basic guide on how to read anything important Hulkling and Wiccan wise, hopefully this will be the video for you. Just a very, very quick disclaimer as well. I am by no means a comic book expert. There's probably much more detailed guides somewhere on the internet for you. This is just literally a beginner's noob guide, but you're going to need some context going into reading Hulkling and Wiccan content, and that context starts with Avengers Disassembled, because of course Wiccan is the son of the Scarlet Witch. We have to figure out how he comes to be. And the easiest way to do this is to start with Avengers Disassembled. If you're using Marvel Unlimited, simply type in Avengers 500 to Avengers 503 and the single issue comics will come up. They'll have the little disassembled logo like on the cover art. If you're not reading it on Marvel Unlimited and you want the physical copies, you can get the single issues, or they do a TP of the disassembled book. So you can get that entire run like all at once. But this is pretty important, and it's part one of like a 3-part trilogy involving Wanda, and eventually it will involve the Young Avengers. So the second part in that 3-part trilogy is House of M, and House of M's pretty important, but it needs the context of Disassembled, and then it kind of gets resolved later on. But House of M is an extremely important story for Wanda. It's very, very well known, very, very famous. It's one of the most famous Marvel events at this point, and it's constantly being brought up. So if you want that context for who Wiccan is at like his core and where he comes from and the reason he exists, you kind of need House of M thrown in here as well. You can find House of M as just a full series. You can get a TP of it, or you can get the full series on Marvel Unlimited. It's all grouped together. There's loads of tie-in comics and stuff. It's entirely up to you like how far into this you want to read, but you can just do the main core series itself, which I believe is like maybe 5 or 6 issues. It's not very long. But right after that, we kind of have this little gap between House of M and Civil War, and that's where the Young Avengers come in. So, Young Avengers 2005 is the first run, and it follows Iron Lad, Kate Bishop, Stature, Hulkling, Wiccan, and Patriot. They're your Young Avengers, essentially. Starting with Young Avengers 2005, running through issues 1 through 12, you can get those in 2 TPs. It also includes the Young Avengers Special in 2005, which is 1 issue. A little bit of a bulkier issue, but has like a bunch of like Origins stuff in there as well. Really, really great read. All of these establish Wiccan and Hulkling. They're already in like a relationship to begin with. You don't really get to find out how they met each other. Not yet, anyway. But yeah, this series is really, really great. Really good read. Very woke for the time. But, you know, if you're reading Hulkling and Wiccan, I assume you're fine with that. Right after the Young Avengers run, things start to get a little bit heavy because Marvel start to integrate the Young Avengers and give them tie-ins to the much bigger events. So there are events like Siege, Civil War, Secret Invasion that all have some sort of like Young Avengers tie-in in some way. So if you want to keep up to date with everything, I'm going to run through like the heavy hitters basically and the stuff that you should read. If you want to skip ahead, then you can. You're going to want to go to like 2010, which is Children's Crusade. So for those that don't want to skip ahead, we've got Civil War to Secret Invasion, which are the next 2 big events. So Civil War is 2006 to 2007 and runs through issues 1 through 7. You can read just the main event of this, and Hulkling and Wiccan do show up in the main event of this. I don't know specifically like what issues, but they are featured. And they have their own tie-in run alongside the Runaways. Only 4 issues. It's a pretty easy one. Introduction of Marvel Boy, which is relevant later on. But yeah, we've got Civil War, and we've got Civil War, Young Avengers, and Runaways. And then you kind of have to decide whether or not, like, maybe you want to give Civil War a go and then decide. I don't really know. But there's going to be a lot of stuff between the first Young Avengers run and Children's Crusade where it's not necessarily essential, but it features these characters. So you have to decide if you want to read them or not. But right after Civil War, we have Secret Invasion. A lot more important for Teddy, with him being part Skrull. And that Secret Invasion event runs through issues 1 through 8. They do appear, and they are kind of like in the background. And they also have a tie-in comic as well, only running for 3 issues. The characters do also appear in like Home Invasion. I don't know yet if they appear in like Frontline, because this is at the time of recording the sort of event that I'm reading. But their appearances aren't very like unique or important. They just sort of like pop up for a quick moment and then move along. So that's another thing where like if you want to read every single issue, you're gonna have to find a wiki and figure out, you know, oh, they pop up here and they pop up there. They're not gonna be very significant though. So after Secret Invasion, we've got Young Avengers Presents, which is only a 6-issue series, and only 2 of the issues focus on Wiccan and Hulkling. Basically, the idea is that each issue of this series focuses on a certain member and like tells a certain story or like a bit of their origins. Essentially just like a bit of a deep dive on each one. So you've got one for Wiccan and Speed and then one for Hulkling. Both of these issues are great, but it's entirely up to you if you want to do the entire run. You know, if you're in it for the long haul and you're doing the Young Avengers as a whole, why not? But otherwise you can just read those 2 issues basically. Next up, we have Dark Reign running into Siege. Dark Reign's a bit of a weird kind of event. It's less of an event and more of an era of, like, Norman Osborn supremacy, basically. And Dark Reign Young Avengers does have its own series and its own event. I never finished it because, like, some of the dialogue in it was a bit... yeah. It was a bit, like, a little bit too trying to be edgy teenager for me. I might go back and read it, but for now I've put it down. It's entirely up to you. Again, like, this is reader's discretion. If you want to dive in and do a bunch of Dark Reign stuff to get extra context, then you can. Otherwise, Dark Reign Young Avengers. Just 5 issues. And then we have Siege, which the characters kind of cameo in for the main event of Siege, for the 4-issue event. But they do get their own tie-in comic, which was pretty cool. You kind of get a little bit more development for Patriot and Kate Bishop in there, but Hulkling and Wiccan are in there. Speed's in there. So, you know, if you're following just the Maximoff corner, it's worth the read for 1 issue. So then we have Children's Crusade, which is the 3rd part in that story from earlier, this disassembled, running into House of M, running into Children's Crusade. Now, Children's Crusade will give you a recap at the very beginning of what you've maybe missed so far if you haven't read between the first run of Young Avengers up until now. It'll say, you know, we did this during Secret Invasion, we did this during Siege and Dark Reign, and kind of catch you up to speed. So if you want to skip ahead to this point, you can, but in my opinion, if you're reading everything Hulkling and Wiccan related, you might as well do the other events as well. But Children's Crusade, the read order for this, because you kind of have to jump around a little bit for this. You want to do the first 4 issues of Children's Crusade, then do the Children's Crusade Young Avengers tie-in, and then do the other 4-5 issues of Children's Crusade. So you're fully, like, enveloped in the story, basically. But yeah, this is a huge one for Wiccan in particular. Wiccan and Speed, a huge story. We've got the X-Men in here, we've got the Avengers in here, we've got Doom in here. It's a great story, and there's no doubt that they're going to take some inspiration for this when it comes to the MCU. So, in my opinion, definite must read. So then we move on to the 2010s and things kind of get mixed up a little bit, and, you know, we get a new art style and we change direction slightly, and Marvel start to do their Marvel Now initiative, where They're slowly introducing a butt-ton more characters, including America Chavez, and I believe Miss Marvel made her debut like around this era of Marvel. This has kind of been my jumping in point. I've really enjoyed a lot of the Marvel Now stuff, but the Young Avengers got a second run, and it ran for 15 issues. Very, very good. Very, very good art. But we get some new people added onto the team here, and there's much more kind of like slow building of Wiccan and like his potential essentially. So you're going to want to do Young Avengers 2013 running through 1 through 15 issues. This breaks down into free TPs or again Marvel Unlimited, it's all on there. Yeah, really, really great. This is one of my favourite series and in my opinion like the definitive Young Avengers book. If you want to get anybody into Young Avengers, this is probably the easiest way. Like, the art is just so easily accessible. It's just really, really great. Then, around, like, 2014, 2015, we take a bit of a break. And the Young Avengers aren't really featured in the big Secret Wars event for whatever reason. You know, Billy and Tommy have, like, their own little cameos in the House of M tie-in for Secret Wars. But other than that, they're not really utilised at all. If you want to see, like, Kate Bishop or anybody before Secret Wars, you know, Hawkeye's got a 2012 run that you could go see her in, and, you know, the characters do pop up in other places, basically. But for the actual Secret Wars event, they're nowhere to be seen. We've got to wait until a little bit after. So then we enter, like, a little bit of a weird era of Marvel kind of struggling. So Wiccan and Hulkling get a level up, which is nice to see, by Al Ewing, who really seems to know what he wants to do with those characters, but wasn't fully like... It feels like he didn't necessarily get the green light to do it. That's the vibe I get from how some of it is written. But Hulkling and Wiccan join the New Avengers, which anybody that reads the New Avengers run going into Secret Wars, all very, very exciting, because the New Avengers was a very good run. But it's very clear that this is like a CD level team. They're not really getting a level up that much. They're just kind of getting put onto a different team on the side as like, you know, we'll see how it goes. So the New Avengers run runs through 2015 to 2016 and covers the Civil War II event. So they only make very small appearances for Civil War II, and for the first, I want to say like maybe 6 or 7 issues of the New Avengers run, there's a heavy focus on Hulkling's heritage, him getting his signature sword, and them teasing what was set up in the Young Avengers series, the 2013 one, with Demiurge Wiccan. Now, the series kind of benches the characters after that. It sort of introduces it and then shoves them to one side to focus on other stuff. But the characters are still present and still kind of are there. It's entirely up to you whether or not you want to read on after, you know, the Demiurge and Hulkling stuff. I would read, you know, the first 6 issues and then maybe just skip the rest. But they also appear in the Death's Head book as well, with a couple of the other Young Avengers. And I've yet to read this. This is like the area that I'm sort of up to in my reading order. But it looks pretty good, and you can get it in physical TP, which is also quite nice. It's all on Marvel Unlimited, as you can assume. Now, the reason I would definitely read at least the first 6 issues and cover Hulkling's rise to basically like claiming his heritage is because it's super important in the next upcoming runs. So we have Strike Force, which I believe takes place around the start of Empyre, which is what Wiccan is up to when Empyre begins. And then also Incoming, which I haven't read yet, but apparently also sets up Empyre. Now, Empyre is entirely centered essentially around like the Kree and the Skrull, and Hulkling being the emperor of them, claiming his heritage. You know, he's got the space sword. There's a lot of shit going on. We've got like a huge war between the Kree and Skrull coalition, some evil nature aliens, and the Avengers are thrown in there as well. So this is a pretty big event centered around Hulkling, with like Wiccan becoming a supporting character for this event. Empyre itself is just 6 issues, and then you've also got a tie-in for Lords of Empyre, Emperor Hulkling, which is worth the read, and then also Empyre Aftermath Avengers, which focuses a little bit more on the fact that they're getting married. This was huge for comic books. I remember like back when I didn't even read Marvel comics and stuff back in the old 2019. I remember seeing so many articles about this. This was super, super important. It was a big old gay wedding, and we got the Maximoff Altman Kaplan Altman fusion. I don't know. Things definitely simmer down, and both characters move to kind of appearing in side stuff, essentially. They appear in a lot of tie-ins as we kind of get into like that COVID era. And there's a King in Black event that takes place, which is a Null, which, you know, Spider-Man symbiote multiversal kind of character. So there's a tie-in for him, which I believe focuses on their honeymoon. And then you've got the Last Annihilation Wiccan and Hulkling tie-in. So it's entirely up to you if you want to go ahead and read like the core event books for King in Black and the Last Annihilation, or if you just want to do the tie-ins for the sake of seeing the characters. I personally haven't read either of these yet. I just know that they're on my list. We then kind of get into a bit of a weird era where Hulkling and Wiccan are getting their own run. They're getting their own series, but it's a digital exclusive to Marvel Unlimited called an Infinity series. And there's a couple of Infinity series already sort of like bubbling around this point. And, you know, they do like Avengers Academy and stuff, which is all Marvel Unlimited exclusive. This one, some mixed responses. I personally don't like the writing for it. I think the art's very, very cool. The art kind of has like a bit of a webtoon, web comic, like throwing a bit of anime manga kind of style. But generally, the writing leans a little bit more into sort of like sloppy teen, like sort of romance drama sort of stuff. Not the kind of thing that I really want to read with Wiccan and Hulkling. I like exploring the fact that they're essentially Arthur and Merlin in space. I think that they're like, you know, they've got cool weapons and cool corners of the MCU that they focus on. So, that's what I like from my Wiccan and Hulkling, not so much sort of romance drama. We kind of get to a point as well, and this sort of covers back, you know, the 2019 era, moving into like 2024. The characters pop up a lot, and I'm talking a lot, in just random issues. They pop up in like a Guardians of the Galaxy run by Al Ewing. They appear in a Captain Marvel run, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, Doctor Strange. Wiccan makes a cameo in Avengers Academy. I don't really know how much he really does. I just saw a glimpse of him. There's a lot of very, very small appearances with like, it doesn't seem like they know what they want to really do with the characters just yet. But then we get to the big 2025, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because there's a lot of build-up, a lot of excitement. Wiccan and Hulkling, they're going to be involved in a big event. They're going to appear in Imperial War, which is 4 issues. They don't appear in any of the tie-in comics. They kind of get benched quite severely. It's the reason that I haven't really spoken about Imperial War on the channel. It's because the event was it's a bit meh. And Hulkling and Wiccan, Hulkling got a hard reset after this event. I'm not going to like fully go into like spoilers for it, but it was pretty important for their characters and what could be looming on the horizon for both of them. But this is the most recent appearance. Aside from, they're also scheduled to appear in Strange Tales. I picked up issue 1 of Strange Tales, but I haven't read it yet. But they're appearing in that. And then we kind of move on to what we're looking forward to, which is Wiccan the Witch's Road. Wiccan's getting his own solo title. It's going to be clearly more focused on his character, less so about Hulkling. Maybe Hulkling will get a series further down the line. We can only hope. But Teddy's on the ride as well. And this series is set to debut in December of 2025. Like, all the variant covers and stuff are released for it. It looks great. Cannot wait for it. And it's going to directly follow from Imperial War. So that's the entire sort of Noob's guide. Like I said, there's going to be other stuff that you can pick up along the way. Other tie-ins and solo issues and things. And, you know, whatever you... I think there's like an Alligator Loki appearance and whatever. There's going to be, like, places that you can find every single appearance if that's what you want to read. But the future of the Demiurge and the King of Space is something that's a little bit all over the place at the moment, because we do know that they've got plans for Wiccan, but we don't know what their plans are for Teddy. And it's a little bit difficult because, generally speaking, fans don't understand Hulkling's character. You know, they see green gay guy and they assume he's a Hulk, and, you know, the name doesn't help. So, are we going to get a name change for him at some point? It could have been Emperor Doric, but they got rid of that storyline. They sort of pushed that aside and moved on from it. And the Demiurge stuff with Wiccan has now been brewing for a decade, with no sign of it advancing. Will he end up being called the Demiurge? Will he drop the name Wiccan? Seemingly not, considering his own run is called Wiccan. There was a lot of sort of throwing around, you know, during the 2010s that the name Wiccan isn't really a suitable name for him because he doesn't practice that religion. So, are we going to get rid of his name? Presumably not. We know that he's going to be appearing on Wanda's council while she plays Sorcerer Supreme, so that's going to be really, really cool. Hopefully Teddy is present somewhere in there. We don't really know chronologically when that series takes place, presumably after Wiccan the Witch's Road. We shall see. But, I mean, clearly they've got something in mind for Wiccan, especially with his debut in Agatha All Along. He's rumoured to be in the upcoming Vision Quest and the new Avengers films. It's just that they had something with Teddy during the 2010s, and then they've kind of, like, pushed it aside. There was a lot of build-up from, like, 2005 to 2010 of, look, he's got this heritage. And then he finally claimed it, but he only had it for, like, 3 or 4 years. And then, you know, went quiet and then dropped it. So it's a little bit strange, but they're brilliant, brilliant characters. Hopefully they continue to get more exposure, and I'm very, very excited to see Wiccan get his own run and appear in the Scarlet Witch Sorcerer Supreme run. It's going to be really, really great. So I hope that this guide was a decent guide. Again, the majority of this stuff you can get on TP or in single issue form, but everything is on Marvel Unlimited. I cannot recommend Marvel Unlimited enough. It's really, really great. But yeah, if there's anything else that you'd like to see me do a breakdown of, and I'm able to do it, then feel free to comment down below, and I'll let you know whether or not I'm capable of it. I've been considering a Young Avengers one, but I kind of covered that here as well. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I can do, like, Civil War or Secret Invasion or, like, Secret Wars. A specific event, maybe. But we shall see. I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to go check out our podcast, The 616 Radio, where we talk about all sorts of Marvel and comic book related shit. And feel free to leave a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.